Hi, my name is Alex and I love going to the movies. Welcome back to Alex Talking, and today I am sitting here a little bit under the weather. I apologize if this is your first time watching me. This is not how I typically sound. Sitting in my fiance's children room, or that's not how you'd say it, children room, playroom when she was a child. Talking about a horrifically disturbing horror movie, especially towards children. Today we're talking about Bring Her Back, which is a new film from Michael and Danny Philippou, and they directed Talk to Me, which was a huge hit a few years ago for A24. As a horror fan, I was very disappointed by Talk to Me because I thought it was um, not anything terribly compelling or interesting or new. Visually, it looked solid. Um, but overall, the script just wasn't anything that riveted me nearly as much as everybody else. Um, and this movie is so interesting, Bring Her Back, because you have improvements in some aspects and you have just the same issues in others, but overall, the entire package worked significantly better for me here because it's, at the end of the day, a significantly more unique, interesting, and fucked up movie. This movie is brutal. This is extremely graphic. The guy who sold us the tickets, we saw this in Asheville, North Carolina, um, prior to hopping on the Appalachian Trail for a day of backpacking 5 miles directly up a hill, to the which, whenever I got to the top and set camp, I got the worst altitude sickness ever because we were at the highest shelter in the entire AT in Tennessee, and um, we're both sick now. And that's what has ended up with us back here in North Augusta, South Carolina, just recovering. But so I do apologize for the lack of energy in this. I just wanted to finally talk about this movie because I saw it 4 or 5 days ago. Um, but I'm still very under the weather. Um, and yeah, I was gonna say, I honestly don't even know what this will sound like. Like, if this is bad enough that 2.5 minutes in, it's like I can't listen to this dude talk with this voice anymore. Go ahead, turn this shit off because I'm hearing my own voice, and I've already quit recording this once because I was like, this is horrible. But I really do just want to talk about this movie because I find it so interesting that these brothers very clearly have a bag of tricks, and albeit a very thin bag, I believe, that is very much so in debt to its references and inspirations. The cinematography and the acting in a movie like this is so strong that it's impossible to deny the complete oversights and like holes throughout the entire script, you know? Um, Potential spoiler warning, if you haven't seen this movie, I think because I'm sick, I'm just going to talk about it straight from the hip. So if you haven't, I'll say this is a disturbing, fucked up horror movie worth your time just because it's going to really get a different reaction and elicit a lot of different responses from every different kind of person. Because I'll tell you, my fiance who I saw this with, she hated it, absolutely hated it. Um, but while I don't necessarily love it, I definitely have been thinking about it and much more compelled by it than her. Whereas she's just like, that was moronic. None of it actually made sense. At any point where it had to explain itself, it just chose not to. And the overall like intrigue of the story is so juxtaposed to the gore. And I want to start with that first. This movie's extremely gory and messed up, while at the same time being a custody sibling drama and like dealing with your past trauma drama. Baby mama drama, too much for me to want to stay in one spot. Another day of monotony's got me to the point I'm like a snail. I've got to formulate a plot or end up in jail or shot. Success is my only motherfucking option. Failure's not. shit, that flow was strong. Like Salem's Lot, bro. But anyways, um, damn, I am on one. It is literally 7 a.m. But the gore in this movie is so fucking out of place compared to the actual tone of the movie. And that is where these brothers actually really interest me. Because I don't know if it's, like, I don't mean to be ignorant by saying this. I don't know if it's Australian sensibilities or what, but I really enjoy Australian horror films like Wolf Creek and the alligator or crocodile movie Rogue. Not to just be naming Greg McLean movies, but I have come to find that Australian horror movies are really brutal and bleak, and that is a part of horror that really tickles my brain. I mean, I watched an Eden Lake Martyrs double feature last week, so that should tell you all you need to know. But yeah, I think that this is one of the biggest examples of any movie, honestly, in recent years that I've seen that is so self serious and so tied down to its own reality and so interested in exploring the psyche of its characters and the issues that they're dealing with as a blind child, as a abused child, as children of dead parents, all these different aspects. And while it does that, it takes a pause every like 20 or 30 minutes to be like, hey, look at this fucking crazy shit. Like it's like 50. My friend Jack said this perfectly to me. He nailed it because I was talking to him about it yesterday. And he was like, I appreciate so much that it is fully 50% family drama, 50% horror movie. And I'm like, yes, it is. Because it is so, so self serious in the family drama stuff that it is so difficult for me to juxtapose it to that violence. Like, I don't know if it's just a me thing as a huge horror movie fan and someone who, watches movies with this type of content on Shudder all the time. It just doesn't entirely work for me to have such seriousness in its tone and such like genuinely just taking yourself so seriously in your message and your theme, so that like, oh, and don't forget to have the plane flying overhead at the end, and oh, like that the actual story and script never for a second earn any of that like real world logic or realism, because you end the movie with a blind girl running directly from one point to another point, directly through a field to the road, without really running into anything. Like, not to say that she needed to keep running into plates of glass or something like that, but like, this movie completely falls apart in the third act. And that is not to be negative. I really did not intend to be that negative with this movie, because I loved when that little bald fucker eats shit. I do. I do. Like, do not get me wrong. When that little bald kid just starts eating knives and like the table, those are the two best scenes of like any horror movie this year. So I actually came out of this way bigger fans of these Raka Raka dudes. And I'm like, no, these are very interesting names in horror because they're doing something that's so weird and different and doesn't necessarily work at all throughout the entire thing. It interests me enough that I can't wait to see how they develop that, because I am so curious to see if like to them it plays like not to say like to them alone it plays fine, because that's not how like necessarily movies are made, but like obviously to enough people this played fine, and that surprises me, especially because the ending sucked so bad. And I actually don't know anyone who doesn't think the ending sucked. Literally, the people I've talked to who like it most are like, I mean, the last 20 minutes completely let it down, but otherwise, it's good. Um, and I can definitely agree with that. I am going to say I would give this movie a 3.2 out of 5. 3.2 out of 5. Because I was really digging it. I love the gore. I was solidly invested in the brother sister relationship, and I really enjoyed Sally Hawkins and the little bald kid as the freaky horror aspects of it. But there were just so many aspects of the VHS tapes and the overall way the third act. So let's talk about the third act. I've already done spoilers enough. Let's talk about like full spoilers. Like I already said, I'm getting into them, so I'm just gonna dive right in. Why on earth? Why on earth? In any world would you shoot a movie and take itself so seriously to the point that you make sure that you say the lines like, oh, well, to put the kid inside of the other person, the vessel needs to die the same way that the other one died. And now you have a kid right here dying the exact same way that your daughter died. And you're left completely alone at your house. And all you gotta do is take that little hungry fucker and have him bite a little bit out of this one, spit it down the mouth of this one, and you got your daughter back. And then, whenever Harper gets home, you have two little blind babies instead of just one. And that would have been really fucked up for Harper to not be able to see, but know that her brother has been possessed. That's taking the next step. That's making this fully a horror movie. That's literally the biggest issue with not doing that is capitalizing on the premise that you have established. That's fully making the most use out of the premise you have established. But in reality, that is not what happens. What happens is he's dead. He's dead. He got drowned in a puddle. But for no reason other than he got drowned in a puddle. For no reason other than, look, what a horrible, bleak, brutal ending this is. Remember whenever this happened to Bruce Willis in Glass? Well, if you weren't pissed enough then, we're going to do it now. But I wasn't pissed this time. I was like, awesome. Drown that brace face fucker in the puddle and let's put the baby in him. But then that's literally so, like, maybe they thought it was too obvious, but like write a different movie, if you're going to be like, well, I don't want to do the puddle thing because that's too obvious, then don't drown him in a puddle. If anything, if you're going to kill him in that exact moment, have the car fucking explode him. That would have been way more shocking and actually in place gore. Now, the drowning in a puddle is effective. I'm not even saying that that wasn't effective. It's just that sets up something for you so well to make your movie way more interesting. And the fact that they didn't actually makes it way more annoying. But now I'll throw this out there. And I have no idea how the film industry works. Especially well, not that I have no idea. It's not like my fiance isn't fucking in it. And I've been in May, December with Natalie Portman. But anyways, no, I have no idea if this is how A24 would work with a movie like this. But I'm led to almost believe they reshot the ending just because of how little sense it made in the grand scheme of the movie. Because, like, ending with the little kid just walking himself past the line and writhing on the ground for presumably hours until being found and not exploding, not being like a complete disfigured monster, just being like, hey, I know who I am. I'm that 10-year-old boy. Okay, happy ending. Happy ending to this fucked up horror movie. I'm okay. And the little blind girl made it to a car on the road. It's like, okay, but this is not the movie you were making. Am I not the only one that saw that that's not the movie you were making, at all? At all, up until that point. That was not the movie that we were watching at all. This was the most frustrating ending of any movie I've seen all year. In the past couple years, honestly. I mean, this is like one of the worst endings to any horror movie I've ever seen, to be 100%. Like, I would add it to that list of this was a top 3, top 4 horror movie of the year for me. And then the last 20 minutes did just completely suck. And like, I thought, so we talk to people like strangers at the movie theater because there's two of us, so we feel comfortable, making conversation with others. And we talked to the girl sitting next to us whenever we saw it, and she was like, I mean, yeah, the VHS tapes were cool. I mean, I have my own opinion about that. I thought they were cool enough, even though I don't like whenever you splice VHS tape with modern or other footage or even credits, because that makes it feel like the VHS tape is way less effective and like what's even the point in the first place. While also it is just like, pretty cheap to do that as a scare in a horror movie. It can be cool, but in the way it was done in this one, it was just like it was very much so like, ooh, isn't it a creepy VHS tape? Not like, hey, we have anything particularly interesting going on here. Actually, we're going to use the VHS tapes to explain fully to you what's happening at the bottom of the screen later on. So you know step by step the exact process because we know we have not been clear enough about it, which is fine. But, like, once again, just not the best writing. This is a movie that is completely failed by its writing, but in every other aspect excels. The direction is great. The acting is great. The violence and gore is great. It's just the writing that makes any of those aspects feel weird, and it's the writing that completely lets it down in the third act. Um, and even like I say that it's so juxtaposed in taking itself seriously as a family drama because at the end of the day, as much as we love seeing fucked up shit in horror movies, if you're going to take yourself so seriously, you need to have a different mechanism to get a kid to eat a knife rather than a 17-year-old handing him a knife with fruit sticking out of it, pointing towards him, and then when he takes it, just going, well, I guess the kid wanted the knife. I'll let him have it. You know, like, that's not bad writing. That's terrible writing. That is no effort writing. That's, ew, wouldn't it be cool if the fucked up kid ate a knife? Okay, yeah, it is. It's literally hilarious and awesome and so fucked up. And people were gagging and screaming. And it looked astoundingly good. Everything about it was flawless, except for every single aspect of the build up to it. Which is whatever, you know, like it's fine. But because like I've honestly forgiven horror movies for being bad and like having issues like this before. That is the issue with elevated horror. If you're going to take yourself seriously and not allow yourself to just be an exploitation splatterfest gore film, need some better writing, need some more effort. So that is the only reason I dug in on that so hard because yes, for the type of movie this was, it was a significant flaw that just kept rearing its head over and over the longer the film went on. That the ideas were there, but the actual execution of them was in no way developed or fleshed out properly. That being said, my voice is obviously starting to go. Um, I think that this movie had tons of potential. I would honestly much rather see a sequel to this than Talk to Me, because I can't really imagine a sequel to Talk to Me would be anything less derivative and generic than Talk to Me already was. But this was a really fun take on like the reanimator genre, and I really enjoyed the lore that was starting to be established and would love to see if letting it develop and sit and actually come up with an explanation for stuff would lead to making a much more interesting, better, well thought out sequel. So if they ever, I know that it would be very unlikely because this is a very standalone type movie, but just because the actual like cult aspect of it and the way the horror is done aspect of it was set up and developed, if they ever wanted to do a sequel to this, I think that that concept would develop very well into another movie and could be even more interesting. So yeah, bring her back. Has some of the most fucked up sequences of the year. It's a very bleak, brutal movie until the very end. It just has a happy ending out of nowhere for you. It's not particularly happy because you know the brother dies, and that's another thing. You know, I'll just throw that out there real quick. Like, what's the point of like tying this up with a nice happy ending if you're still going to kill the brother? You know, like I mean that's okay. Like someone can die, but like it's not even a happy ending. But like it's played like it is. It did not work at all. Yeah, that shit left me feeling so cold walking out of a movie I otherwise was really enjoying. But good for her for surviving and knowing how to operate fully um, without being able to see. Yeah, good for her. Let me know what you thought if you saw Bring Her Back, if you liked it more than Talk to Me, if you'd seen that one, and what else you're looking forward to seeing soon. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.